So my big build-up to Jim is that Jim, who needs no further introduction. Jim.
Well, and I thought we'd fill in the feedback form now, shall we? Jim Bilton, very useful indeed. So if you just get your pens out, we don't any of this Twitter nonsense, do we? Pen and paper. The subscriber service survey, just to remind you, 62 publishers, 500 titles, 144,000 consumer magazine subscribers who have responded to this self-completion survey. What it picks up in particular are two key themes. One is the rising expectation levels from the consumer as to what customer service actually is. Secondly, a broadening definition as to what they consider to be customer service itself. But let's dive in. The survey is based on a series of very structured questions, but there's a question we ask at the end, which is open text, which is, do you have any other suggestions for a subscription service that you would find helpful? Now, I was anticipating that about 5% maximum of the respondents would respond to that. It was closer to 30%. 44,000 people filled in that open text box. So it's amazing, both the volume and the nature. They were very passionate and engaged and articulate and very wide-ranging, not just about solving problems, but about the total customer experience. But having said that, one issue dominates above all others. 45% of those 44,000 were about discrimination. Discrimination between subscribers, between UK and overseas. The overseas subscribers saying, well, why do UK subscribers get the cover mounts and the special gifts that we don't? Discrimination between subscribers and retail, that the UK subscribers can see what retail customers get in terms of supplements and poly bags. But those are two relatively minor discriminations. The big one is between new subscribers and renewing subscribers. It really irritates me to see you offering better prices to new people. All that makes me do is cancel and resubscribe. But why should I have to bother doing that when you could make life so much easier just by being a bit nicer to me in the first place and recognise that I'm a loyal customer? Now, that quote comes from a men's lifestyle title, but it could have come from any of the categories that we are looking at. And they come up with all kinds of suggestions. Make me the best price, the price that you're offering the upfront new customer. Thank you gifts, added value. Just make my subscription experience different from retail. Otherwise, I'll go back to retail. What's the deal? Another angle from the research, we asked the question, subscribing to the magazine makes me feel that I get special treatment. Do you agree with that statement or not? Only 34% of them agreed. And that's pretty steady from survey to survey to survey. But we also had a look at their renewal intention. Those who agree strongly, 89% of them said that they were going to renew. Those who disagreed strongly, 56%. So making subscribers feel special has a material and measurable effect on their renewal intention, on the glue which translates into real, actual renewal figures. Here's a specialist camera magazine. The prices of the cameras you feature are way over my head. And by the way, in the second year of my subscription, I noticed quite a few features coming around again. Do you really think that we don't notice things like that? Repetitive editorial is one of the big themes that comes through from people who are fed up with their subscription. But you ask the open text box about customer service and woomph. Your website is a waste of time. You've cut the quality of your paper. It just feels cheap now. Why didn't you do features on this, features on that? You open up a box about editorial. Now, there are some positive ones. There are a number of people who said, I can't think of anything that I'd improve about the editorial, which is lovely to hear. But the point is that the consumer regards editorial as part of the customer service and the overall customer experience. It isn't a neat silo in the customer's head, as it is in our attitude towards the subscription. Moving up a level from content detail is what I've called content architecture, and there are 5 recurring themes: choice, simplicity, price, quality, and navigation. Now, you add all these elements together, and that's what I mean by content architecture, that as our subs packages become more complex, are they intuitive and user-friendly? Are they adding to the customer experience or actually complicating it? How do we support the users through this whole experience at an economic cost? And how do we manage customers' changing needs during the lifetime of the sub, and not just at the front end, on making them make a forever choice that is set in stone, which is not what the modern consumer actually wants? These are all customer service questions. And do we know the real answers, or have we just bolted our subscription elements together without understanding what the consumer really wants, and then to create a customer service that reflects that? We asked those who had a print edition, have you experienced a problem over the last 12 months? 9% of them said yes. Of that 9%, 61% reported it. Of that 61%, 64 were satisfied with the resolution. Now, when it comes to print edition, the problems are relatively straightforward. The bulk of them are to do with the physical supply. Non-delivery, late delivery, damaged in the post, first issue coming very slow. There are some admin issues, like renewal letters, not enough renewal letters, too many renewal letters, change of address wasn't actioned, direct debit and payment didn't go through properly, but those are relatively minor. It's basically a simple, did the magazine arrive on time or not? Those who have digital editions, the incidence of experience a problem is virtually double. The reporting levels, those of them who report, the 17% who have had a problem in the previous 12 months reported it, but the satisfaction levels are significantly lower, the problem resolution. Now, the problems with digital editions are much more complex. They are to do with download times, they're to do with the system crashing, and when somebody rings up and says, my iPad has crashed, where on earth do you start with that? How many apps have you got open? All that kind of discussion in the customer service conversation. Also, things like internal navigation. I can't find my way around the app, or this app is different from the other app, and I'm used to doing things in that way. So, not only is the call longer and more expensive and needs better trained and technical staff, it is producing lower satisfaction levels. The final area, moving on from problem resolution onto communication. Communication, over-communicating and under-communicating. This came back. You can't satisfy everybody. Over-communicating. You're sending me too many renewal notices too early in the subscription process. You're selling other products and services. I'm fed up of you using my name to sell me other things. Or under-communicating. I'm staggered as to the number of people who claim never to have had a renewal notice. Or they have a renewal notice, but it doesn't have the lapse issue in it, which is one of the real irritations that comes through, particularly from regular subscribers. So what should we do now? Two things. One is do what we are doing today, but do it better. Most of us have a core model which actually works, but we can make it work better. And I would pick out three particular areas. First issue delivery, the nursery period, and renewals, where we could do things better. But essentially the fourth point, that we clean and simplify every process, right from the initial contact and acquisition all the way through to managing the sub, through to renewal at the end. So to do what we do today, but to do it better. At the same time as planning how we are going to do things differently tomorrow, which is based on a program, a structured program of insights and tests, where we face up to this issue. Do we reward loyalty or not? Do we continue with the old business model? I think as long as there is a business logic behind it, the danger is of leaping from one model to the other without having done the sums. But I think to leverage more average revenue per user is based on rewarding loyalty and building membership and adding value. The long-term aim of developing ARPU is based on that. Automating as much as possible And as the subscription experience becomes more complex, right-sizing it throughout the life of the subscription, upsizing, downsizing, changing the package dependent on people's usage. So some practical conclusions from all that. So that's what old customer service used to look like. It was reactive, it was problem solving, it was an after-sales service, and it was a cost centre. New customer service is proactive and planned. It is enhancing the customer experience, and it is a complex interlocking series of interactions which occur throughout the subscription lifetime. Now, all that represents a massive shift. It's a shift in budget because it costs. It's a shift in company structure because you've got to build your own content provision around the customer. And also, it is the biggest, perhaps of all, is a change in culture and attitude. And that comes right from the top. Is the customer really at the core of our businesses, or is it something we are giving lip service to? Hello, caller. How can I help?